Hello everyone, this is Nick. Mike and Travis and I are very bad at planning this month, and we weren't able to all get together and figure out a time for us to all record our anticipated releases. But that doesn't stop us from wanting to talk about some games and tell you about some games that we're really excited about coming up in the month of December. So to start us off, let's hear Travis say one of his games that he's very psyched about.
So my first game is going to be Borderlands 2 is going VR. I don't have any VR access myself, nor do I really have an interest to get this game necessarily in VR, mostly just because I've felt like games that I've played, like Skyrim, I played on VR via my friend CJ, and VR just tends to get me really, really motion sick. But I think it's really cool that Borderlands 2 is trying out the VR scene. Maybe it'll be better for them because they're kind of going for more of a cartoony kind of artwork, so maybe that'll help them and make it not seem so motion sicky. But I know lots of VR games in the past have kind of been hit or miss on whether or not it'll make you feel really sick, and I found that it's usually if I'm free roaming that makes me a little sicker. But nonetheless, Borderlands 2 is a fantastic game, and if I actually had VR access, I'd be lying if I said I probably wouldn't be purchasing it anyway, just because it is a really good game. I would easily put it on my top 10. It was pretty much my top 5. It was kind of a grab on the 4th and 5th. But if you have a VR, check it out, and let us know in the comments how awesome it is. Yeah, because it's going to be awesome.
Thank you, Travis. Now, Mike, what do you have for us?
All right, so I'm going to start my little spiel off with 2 games, actually. It'll make sense when I start talking about them. That is Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight and Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. You can kind of tell by the names, Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. These games are very, very similar to each other. They're both rhythm game spin-offs of their respective Persona games. Obviously, Persona 3 is based off of Persona 3, and Persona 5 is based off of Persona 5. I just want to spend a little bit of time mostly gloating about Persona because I love this franchise to death. But the reason that I'm picking these 2 to go with, and the reason that I think these rhythm games are definitely worth playing, is if you played the Persona games, you know that these games are made with so much love and care. And the rhythm games are not the only spin-offs in the series. There's also a fighting genre spin-off for these games, also the arena games. So it's like Persona 4 Arena, Persona 3 Arena. Persona 5 hasn't had one yet, so we're still waiting on that to happen. But this rhythm spin-off series is sort of different, I guess, than the rest of them. Obviously, there's not really a whole plot that goes along with the game. Typically, they either fall like in the middle of the game or they fall after the game in terms of plot. No one really cares about the plot of these games. The funniest part of these games, and I think it's so hilarious watching it, is just seeing the characters in the game dancing to the songs in the backgrounds. The way it does rhythm is pretty cool too. It's more than just button pressing. It's a lot of, using proper motions with the control sticks and things like that. And so, it's not just a simple, Guitar Hero strategy where you press a button to, light up this one, or, because even Hatsune Miku's like that, where it's just when the buttons line up, you press the button and that's it, which is classic rhythm formula, but this sort of breaks free of that rhythm trend a little bit. And on top of that, I think more than anything else, the reason these games are worth playing is because these soundtracks are incredible. Persona 3 and Persona 5, respectively, have outstanding soundtracks. I've never played Persona 3 to completion, but I played enough of it to hear a lot of the music in that game. Persona 5 I have played to completion. I'm actually considering going on a second playthrough of this game as well, because even though it's like 120 hours to beat, it's well worth every second of it. But every song from that game is incredible, like Rivers in the Desert, Last Surprise. I could go on and on with every song name that I could possibly think of, but there really isn't a bad song in these Persona games. And so making a rhythm game off of it makes so much sense, especially when you think of the type of music that these games have, right? Persona games have a lot of upbeat, sort of 80s themed style music, right? And so it's music you want to get up and dance to. And so when you have a soundtrack with music you want to dance to, it only makes sense making a rhythm game out of it, right? So I'm glad they're doing this. I think it's cool. These games have actually been out before in Japan, so they're never been to America before. This is the first time they're making it to North American shores, but it's exciting. It's exciting because It's a fun rhythm game based off incredible songs from a legendary game series, and so for that reason, I'm obviously super excited to try this one out.
Thank you, Mike. And now for me, I'm going to talk about my first one, and this one is going to be Desert Child. It's not one that you would expect me to really be in. I do like the indie scene. I do like what they're coming up with. This was actually a game that came out a while ago. I know it was presented at E3 a little while back. But Desert Child kind of reminds me of, again, those old school pixel graphics, a little more lifelike, but one of those run and gun kind of shooters. Not the kind of run and gun shooter that you'd expect a Metroidvania or a Mega Man game to be under. One of those kind of old school arcade games where there's just chaos on the screen, you're zooming back and forth, and you're just shooting the crap out of these. It looks like a ton of fun. It doesn't look like the kind of game that I would pick up immediately, but it's one that really pays homage back to those golden style of games. Music sounds really good. I like the fact that it was a Kickstarter product, and it is successful from what I've seen. And you can get it on Steam, I believe. I know that it's coming out on Switch. That's the release that is really big. I know it's delayed, I'm pretty sure, if I saw the articles correctly. But it looks like a very, very cool game. Again, it's not going to be one that you're going to, in my opinion, doesn't look like a game that you're going to sit down and try to experience a huge story. But if you're just trying to kill 30 minutes to an hour, this one looks like a lot of fun to do. So it looks like it upgrades to your equipment and everything. It looks like fun. It looks like one of the indie games that would be a really good fit for the Switch, especially a good one on the go. Perfect game to bring on the go.
And my second game is a game that we've been waiting for a very long time. It comes out December 7th. Not Smash Bros. It is the one and only Katamari is coming to Switch, baby. Who doesn't like a good, weird Japanese game where they're just rolling around, sometimes literally planets at a time? Like, it's just stupid fun. We've done it on our channel. I mean, who doesn't like to start out the size of an ant and then the next thing you know, you're rolling up worlds in the palm of your hand just because some dude ended up destroying an entire galaxy? Because, I mean, King of the Cosmos, it happens, it happens. But Katamari is a really weird, dorky game that it for some reason is strangely satisfying to be playing, making your big ball of creation that is it's just weird. But it's coming to the Switch, and I would highly recommend you guys picking it up.
So the second game I want to talk about is a game that has actually come out before, earlier this year, but we didn't talk about it the month it came out, which kind of is surprising to me that we didn't. So I want to talk about it now, and that is the Sega Mega Drive Classics. This came out for the PlayStation 4 and, things like that, but now it's coming out for the Nintendo Switch. And considering we're a Nintendo channel, I guess this is the perfect place to talk about this one. And also there really wasn't much else on that list that really spoke to my heart, so this is the one I'm going to go with. Sega Mega Drive is an interesting console. I think it's one that's kind of forgotten about, which is interesting because it has a lot of incredibly fun games on it. The Sega Mega Drive's classics, wow, I said that horribly, falls similar to what, the PS1 classic that's coming out kind of fell to, and that's that there's a lot of good games on it, but then there's a lot of oddities that were kind of left off of the Sega Mega Drive Classics Edition. So, it's interesting because you'll buy it and you'll get incredible games, but then you're also going to be like, where were some of these other games? I think the most extreme game that was left off of this list was Sonic 3 and then Sonic and Knuckles. The fact that neither of those games made it into the game, no one really knows why that happens. I was looking on Nintendo Life, which is an awesome website for Nintendo fans, by the way. NintendoLife.com, go check it out. Not sponsored or anything, but it's an awesome website. But they were talking about it. They were saying that, having to swap the cart mechanic, so like you have different carts that you have to swap to play that game, was probably hard to do. It was probably hard for them to emulate that for this game with some of the theories they had. I don't know if I totally buy that excuse for Sega, but it is a possibility. And then there's also Sonic 3 that was left off. That one really doesn't have an excuse. No one really knows why that one was left off. Especially because all the other Sonic games are on there, right? Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Spinball. They're all on this console. So it is a bit weird that we have like all of them except, one or two Sonic games that were left off. But, again, that's the point that I'm trying to make here is there's a lot of games that were left off that are odd, but there's a lot of really good games that still made it, I like to talk about a special game that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and that's the Alex Kidd series. Alex Kidd and the Enchanted Castle is going to be on this as well, and so if you've never tried this game out, I would highly recommend it. Alex Kidd in Miracle World was one of my favorite games to play when I first tried out the Sega consoles and the Sega game systems, and Enchanted Castle is another incredible one. It's kind of it's a platformer style game, but it's in sort of a different vein than some of the other games that you might be used to, and so that one's a lot of fun. For my boy Nick, we got Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I know he is an absolute fan of that one. And then we got lots of other good ones, right? Altered Beast is a classic. Bonanza Bros is a classic. There's a lot of games on there. The Golden Axe series. We have Golden Axe 1, 2, and 3. It's sort of a side-scrolling 1990s style beat-em-up game. And so the Sega Mega Drive, this is where I'm going to give a little PSA for this, was an incredible system that was sort of lost in the etches of time, right? The only Sega console people really talk about is the Genesis. Sometimes you hear about the we never hear about the Saturn. The Dreamcast you do hear a lot about because that was sort of the point where Sega kind of died, even though Dreamcast was a good console. But outside of Dreamcast and Genesis, the other ones are kind of left in the dust, No one cares about the Saturn, no one cares about the Mega Drive, but these consoles had some pretty solid games, right? And so I think it's really cool that this came out because it kind of showcases this other console that people often look over, and it's kind of saying, don't look this console over, right? This console had a lot of fun games, and it's absolutely worth trying. If you have a Nintendo Switch, I would highly recommend picking this up so you can play some awesome classics, and do it.
Another anticipated release, it doesn't really seem like it'd be a big anticipated release. It is a big anticipated release, but not like in terms of a single game. Sorry, losing the point. PS1 Classic. That's coming out this December 3rd. But the games on there have been a subject of a lot of debate. A lot of people kind of remember the PS1 for its golden days of JRPGs, and they're not really getting that. Final Fantasy VII's on there. I don't think they're getting a ton of Final Fantasies, but let me look up the list of games really quick. You are getting some pretty solid ones. Again, ones that were big system sellers, if you want to call it that, for the time back then. You get Destruction Derby, I think that was a big one. Final Fantasy VII is probably the big one. Grand Theft Auto is as well. Metal Gear Solid. Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut. Spyro the Dragon on there. I'm wrong. I don't think Spyro the Dragon's on there. But you get Tekken 3, you get Wild Arms, you get Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. So you get some good games. A couple of points of debate for the PS1 Classic is that people have done some testing, and it's widely believed or almost proven at this point that some of them were PAL versions of the game, which means that there's some kind of a frame rate issue. Again, these are old school games. They're not going to have perfect cutting edge HD graphics. It's from the PS1 era. But the PS1 era should have better quality, but because of the fact I think they will have it at 50 hertz rather than 60 hertz. Basically, they're saying that it's a PAL version, not the NTSC version that America and Japan have, which is kind of a weird thing that they had. Maybe they thought they were going to go away with it, or get away with it. Even kind of having an option of a filter or something. I don't know if it has a filter. I'm just speculating at this point. But the games are good. I don't agree with some of the game options because I think there's a couple of them missing that I think were really good. I think Vagrant Story was one that a lot of people I've personally talked to wanted. But these games are good games. There's a couple of them that they missed out on that I think that people thought that should have been for sure inclusions on the PS1 Classic, and the fact that some of the games are PAL emulated games instead of NTSC games, which NTSC has been seen as the superior version, is kind of a subject of debate. It has a $100 price tag, which I think was set because Nintendo had their NES and SNES Classic. Sega's kind of been out of the game, so nobody's really kind of factoring Sega's Mega Drive collection, which I'm pretty sure is coming out this month too. I'm not really going to talk about it. But the PS1 Classic, I thought it should happen. It is finally happening. I think it is going to sell well. I think it's going to be sold out in a lot of places too. But there's a couple of kind of questionable things that they've done. Again, Final Fantasy VII is enough for probably a lot of people to get it. Same with Resident Evil, and same with Metal Gear Solid. Grand Theft Auto 2, it has enough games for it to push it like the NES Classic and the SNES Classic had. And again, I personally love my SNES Classic. But I don't think that it's going to have the critical acclaim that those ones did, based on the fact that Nintendo is known for those games, and I feel like, just in general, between Nintendo and Sony, Nintendo has more classic games, if you want to put the classic in quotation marks. Ones that people grow up and are very nostalgic for. I'm not saying that they're not nostalgic for the PS1, but the games that people basically remember playing and the ones that really started off in the big resurgence of the gaming scene, was with Nintendo. So I'm not sure if it's going to have a better selling potential than Nintendo, but we'll see. We'll see.
So, the PS1 Classic is very interesting to me, right? And it seems like it's received a lot of controversy. I personally am not a fan of. I think the games they picked for the PlayStation Classic are absolutely perfection. First of all, let me get right off the bat and just say, when you're releasing a Classic Edition of a console, it would be completely stupid of you to release just the 20 best games of the console. If you want to play the 20 best games, A, buy the console, B, they're all available all over the place, right? I mean, people were having their hands up in arms saying, no Final Fantasy on this, none of this. But those games are so, I mean, and there is Final Fantasy VII, by the way. But, you know, like, there's no more, like, there's a lot of mainstream games that people are complaining that were left off. My thought process to that would be, why do you need all of those on there, right? I mean, do we need Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX on there as well? Those games can be played soon. Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3. I mean, you can play these things on PCs, another one. They're available on mobile, some of the Final Fantasy games. You can play these games anywhere. So if I'm going to have a PS1 Classic system, do I really need to have those ones again? I mean, if Final Fantasy VII was not put on it, I would not have cared. You know why? I own it on 5 other consoles in my apartment right now. And I probably own it on a couple more back home, you know? And so that's just what I want to start off by saying when people critique the games that were picked. I think that is a very dumb critique, to be honest, on the part of people. Look, there's lots of incredible PlayStation 1 games. The 20 games they put on there are all outstanding games. They're all revolutionary in their own way, right? People are going to look at a game like Cool Borders 2, right? And say, well, why wasn't a more prominent, you know, skating series picked? But Cool Borders 2 is not a bad game, right? It's not the world's most incredible skating game out there, but it's one you can't play very often, right? The Tony Hawk series and the Skate series are seen everywhere, right? And so that's kind of the thing I want people to take away from this, is there's a lot of really popular games on here that you can play everywhere, but then there's a lot that aren't, right? Grand Theft Auto, for example, isn't really seen on a lot of things. The Grand Theft Auto trilogy that we've seen re-released doesn't include Grand Theft Auto 1. And so that one, I think, was a smart decision, as opposed to, you know, having any other Grand Theft Autos like Grand Theft Auto 2 be on there. Resident Evil Director's Cut, I thought, was a great one to pick from, because the original Resident Evil has been re-released a lot. Resident Evil Director's Cut is sort of a funny, different edition, and I think it'll be really cool to try the Director's Cut. I've never played the Director's Cut of the original Resident Evil. I played the remake on GameCube. I played the, you know, HD remake on Xbox One. I played the original one, but I've never played the Director's Cut. So I'm very excited to do that one. Tekken 3, obviously Tekken is a huge, incredibly popular fighting franchise, and so we're not going all the way back to the roots with that one, but, you know, we're going back pretty far. Revelations Persona, need I say more? I love those games, so that one I'm super excited for. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, again, that's another one really no one's played, right? We've all played Rainbow Six Siege, Rainbow Six Vegas, but never the original Rainbow Six, and so I think it's kind of exciting to give that one a shot. Twisted Metal, man. I don't think this franchise gets enough love. Twisted Metal is an iconic PlayStation franchise, so to the people that were saying that game shouldn't be on the list, I just say go do your history and research, because you're probably a middle schooler or an elementary school kid that doesn't know the history of PlayStation, because Twisted Metal is such an important franchise for PlayStation. It's a really cool, I always call it like a dark heavy metal, I guess that's where metal comes from, but like a twisted dark driving game essentially is what it is. And so Twisted Metal is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to playing that one as well. Wild Arms is a fun shooter game. I feel like at this point I'm just kind of going through the list saying everything I like about the games. The general idea is a lot of people don't seem hyped about it, but I am hyped about it. I think they're doing everything right with the PlayStation Classic, and I think that's what's bothering people, right? People just wanted them to release the 20 best games. Reality is we'd be getting 20 games we've all already played before, right? What's cool about the PlayStation Classic game list is that there's a mix of classics that we've played before, like Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear Solid, that we want to play again. And then there's a list of games, like there's some games I never played. Like I've never played Mr. Driller before. I've never played Intelligent Cube before. So it's cool that I'm buying a system of games I love and also games I've never tried before. That's what these consoles should be, right? They should be a mix of games you've played and games you haven't played. The SNES Classic, when it came out, what was the game people were most hyped for? Right? It wasn't the super popular SNES games like Super Mario World and Link to the Past. The game people was most excited for was Star Fox 2. Why? Because no one's ever played it before. Okay? And so that's the main takeaway from all that. So I went on a long tangent there, but that's how I feel about the PlayStation Classic. a long list of incredible games. A lot of games that people have heard of, a lot of games you've probably never heard of before, but that's the fun of it. We all get to experience something new and something we love.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Wow, wow, wow. The day is finally here. Finally. I know this one is probably the one you expect us to talk about a lot, which we are, because of the fact that Smash Bros. Ultimate has so much happening to it. First of all, before I mention anything about the game that I'm excited about, I want to say thank you to Masahiro Sakurai, Mashed Potato Samurai, whatever you want to call him. Dude, you kick ass. You're doing a fantastic freaking job, and you don't get as much thanks as you should. Take a nap, have a well-deserved rest, take off of work, dude, because we've been pestering you for so long, and I understand why people are mad. People are mad because a lot of people got their wanted characters into the game. A lot of people did. You got King K. Rool, you didn't get Bandana D, but you got King K. Rool, you got Ridley, a character that they said probably wasn't going to be in the game because of size limitations. I don't want to go over every character they got, and even got Isabelle, another Animal Crossing character, you got Incineroar, you got a lot of new characters, not in relation to this one and other Smash Bros, not a lot of them. But, Sakurai, you've done too much. People are thinking that, why didn't you put in my favorite character, but you put in a plant character? First of all, Sakurai can control you in whatever way he wants to. He's known to do so. And second of all, Piranha Plant's going to be fun as hell. I think it's a great one, basically raising a middle finger to how many people are trying to capitalize on all the Smash Bros. Leaks. So now I'm going to start saying stuff about the game, but thank you, Sakurai, and people don't give him a lot of crap. There are more characters coming. I'm pretty sure Rex and Pyra is almost a guaranteed one, just based on how well Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has done. And they even mentioned it in the Direct that they wanted to do it, but they kind of had the game announced a little too late when they were starting to work on the characters. For the gameplay, I played the demo at Big House 8. My god, it's fantastic. I want to see how people are going to act the day afterwards, because so many people are just expecting Melee Round 2, and it's not going to be that. I played it, it definitely isn't. I love the things that I got shown before, the World of Light. The assist trophies can actually be killed, which is kind of interesting. A lot of amazing stages. The online has a ranking system, and it's actually going to be more catered to a competitive scene, which is good, because you can actually find casual matches and you can find competitive matches. Those competitive matches mean a lot too. They even said that they're going to do some of the balancing and tweaking with the characters themselves based on those games, so no character gets too overpowered. I like that system a lot, because if you go on For Glory for Smash 4 and you see a random Link spamming Euros, not many people, I don't say not many people, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to look at that and not understand how to beat it, and Nintendo might think Link is OP and needs to be nerfed. A top level player would be like, easy to beat that. All I gotta do is jump, gotta do this, that. There's not gonna be a lot that you can learn from just having a general no ranking system. And the fact that they're making that for online, I think is a really big step forward to appeasing the competitive scene. I know Sakurai didn't want it to be a competitive game, wanted it to be a party game, but that is showing a lot to the competitive scene. As somebody who competes in Smash Bros. Tournaments, it means a lot to me that he's doing that. The characters look fun. The stages were so much cool. I played on the Breath of the Wild Sheikah Tower. I played on the Splatoon 2 stage. I played Inkling as well. All of the things that I've seen in the game, I've loved. There hasn't been anything. I will point out again, the smoke when you get hit by something, I don't like it as much. And you can't tech down airs, or can't tech spikes, which is kind of weird. But I mean, okay, whatever. It might bring a different meta thing. In terms of a competitive standpoint, I haven't looked at it that much in a competitive way. I'm going to wait to play it. I'm going to wait to see how I like it, if I want to still compete with this game. But all of the additions I'm doing, they're putting in another story mode, just like Subspace Emissary. They're doing, which is the World of Light. They're allowing you to put what they had All-Star mode in Project M, where you can have which I think they call Squad Strike. Basically, all they're doing is they're listening to their fans, and they're still bringing in new characters. So all you people who are mad that Sakurai didn't put in my favorite character, please be quiet. I'm sorry. I don't want to be very divisive about this, but please recognize how much he loves the game and loves us, that he's actually putting up with our crap for it. He's doing a great job. The demo is fantastic. It plays so smoothly, and you're going to have to be able to use GameCube controllers for it, which is awesome. My gosh, I cannot wait for this game. I know Nintendo's going to be making a lot of money out of it, which is probably why their online is going to skyrocket because of it too. Probably going to sell a lot more online memberships with it. Basically, I'm just excited for it.
Has so much. Now, I hate that some people on the internet have been being like, oh, where's Waluigi? Where's this character, that character? Because there's 74 or 75 freaking characters in it. Name any other fighter game that has nearly that many. You can't be complaining that your one person didn't get in. This game looks amazing in every shape and form. Well, maybe not classic mode, but the art's like for the actual like the menu page for classic mode to know what your path is, that is pretty sweet. But it seems very simplistic, but they're also doing the Undying Light mode and also the Spirits mode, which I personally like the Spirits mode idea more than collecting trophies. I know this is a very debated topic, I guess, among other YouTubers that I've been watching when for reaction videos for when he said there would be no trophies. But for me, I would much rather be earning a sticker, because that's almost the same thing. I know it's not a 3D model, but then you also get to be doing something with it. And it also, I personally have always loved events. Like, that was the first thing I completed with the last Smash game, really any Smash game that I've played since Melee, because it gives such a unique spin to it. And now this time you also get to then keep the collectible and then have it possibly work for you if it, like, whatever the power-up is in it, suit your playing style. But I think it's super cool. So if I'm sitting alone, I'm gonna just be looking at the stickers, see which ones I want, and then be playing those event modes, because who doesn't like, was it King K. Rool was pretending to be like a Samus character, which is super funny. Like, I like it. They get really, really creative with what these characters can represent. And I just love to see more of it. And then, so many people to choose from for my main. Like, when they announced King K. or Ridley, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna want to definitely play a lot of Ridley when I first get it. And then they announced King K. Rool, and I'm like, I freaking love King K. Rool. I'm gonna play him a lot. And then Simon, and so much. And then for the actual gameplay, I just can't wait. It looks so smooth. It looks so good. I know some people were saying that the, like, cloud effects after you, like, knock someone off the stage is kind of a bit much, and they can sometimes lose your character. But half the time when I'm playing, I'm not even looking where my actual model is. I'm just trying to see where they are, and then I'm definitely going to put in a lot of hours so I can get all the muscle memory of how fast people are. But I can't wait. Me and all of my friends, like, we already planned this big day on Thursday night to be all together and be playing local play just to unlock all the characters together. And it just sounds so fun, and it's only X amount of days away. Let's see, when this video releases, it'll probably be about a week. So, a week away. Can't wait.
So I'm going to try to not say what Nick and Travis have already said about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm going to try to give my own original thoughts, but obviously some of the things I'm going to say are probably similar to what they've already said, and that's that I'm extremely excited for this game. Obviously, we're a Nintendo channel. Super Smash Bros. Is probably one of the biggest game series out there for Nintendo, and so there's been so much hype for it. There was a point during E3 when I kind of got sick of it because that was all Nintendo talked about there, but after that, kind of the slow and steady increase in announcements between different characters and modes in the game, things like that, have sort of re-hyped me for the game again, and now I'm totally back on board, and I absolutely cannot wait until next Friday when I get to have my hands on this game. I am floored. I got so many things to grade, by the way. I got so much work to do that day, and the only thing I care about doing is playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate when it comes out, so that's going to be like my main priority. Obviously, I'm excited for the new characters that are coming out for it. It's funny because there's different perspectives. I tend to play these games for fun, and I like going random. I think me and Travis are similar in that aspect. So having a list of 73 characters basically means when I hit random, I could idealistically, right, go through 73 games with 73 different characters, right? So that means you could almost go like a full play session for 3 hours doing random characters and never repeat a character, right? That is so much customization and so much variety in that game. And like any Smash Brothers player would tell you, casual or, competitive, the characters all feel different, right? None of the characters feel the same. And that's hard to do, right? When you play a fighting game casually, all the characters kind of feel the same, right? You have your heavy set, you have your light set. But in Smash Brothers, every character genuinely feels different. Obviously, except for things like Echoes, right? I can only assume the Echo characters like Peach and Daisy are going to feel exactly the same. And then there's some like Pit, Dark Pit, things like that where, they play relatively similar. Mario, Dark Mario, that'd be a cool one. Dr. Mario kind of plays similarly. But for the most part, pretty much every character is unique, right? No one feels like Pit. No one feels like Mario. No one feels like Link, right? Except for their close doppelgangers, of course. No one feels like Captain Falcon. And so I think that's what makes these games so much fun is you have so much variety to work with that if you're not playing it to learn a character, you basically have a completely different playthrough every time you pick a different character. And I think that's what excites me so much about it, is when they add different characters like Piranha Plants, right? Who expected that? But now you have a character that completely stands out from the rest of them. Incineroar looks like a completely different character from anyone else with his, sort of brawl fighting technique, and he gloats every time he lands a hit and stuff. I think that is so awesome, and I think that's such a great addition to the game. Worlds of Light is obviously where I'm going to put all my chips in. I love story modes. This one obviously is not going to be like Subspace Emissary. I think that's already kind of clear. This is sort of just a board game where you move around as Kirby to collect different characters. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a major story in the middle. I could be wrong. It mostly seems like there's going to be an opening cutscene that's intense and a closing cutscene that's probably going to be somewhat intense. But it seems like for the most part, it's going to be just sort of a board game style where you go around collecting characters, which I'm okay with, right? It's a single-player mode that caters to the single-player audience. That's sort of a story experience, right? And I think that's going to be a welcome addition, or a welcome re-edition, I guess you should say, because it was already there and then taken out. But no, I'm really excited to try this mode out. I think, obviously, I don't have any complaints about it right off the bat. There's lots of other things that seem interesting, too. We have the Spirit board, which seems like it'll be very interesting. There seems to be a lot of new assist trophies coming out. There's a lot of other modes that I'm still kind of curious about, whether we're going to see new additions alongside things like Target Smash and things like that, and, which of those will be included and excluded. I'm excited about that. There's a couple things that I'm always iffy about, right? DLC still seems like it's kind of pricey, Soul Calibur 6, I gave it a lot of flack because of the Tira thing. Let's not forget, Super Smash Bros. Did the same exact thing with Mewtwo. And I'm sure right now they already have some DLC characters programmed that they just didn't release, right? They said there was a couple of characters they wanted to put in the game that they couldn't fit in by the release date. A part of me feels like some of those characters might end up being DLC that, they didn't have to be DLC. They basically said we were going to put them in the game, didn't make it in time, so we're just going to charge you extra for them later. It's always an annoying feature, but, I've learned to accept that's the world we live in with DLC these days. And so, I don't want to talk too much more about Smash Bros. Because we've probably already heard a lot of it, but that's my general idea, right? I love the story mode coming back, even if it isn't going to be as story-heavy as Subspace Emissary was. I like all the different characters. I'm really excited to get back into Smash Brothers, man. And playing it on the go on a console is going to be so much fun. So, nothing but hype for this one.
That's all we are going to talk about. I don't really have any honorable mentions. I saw the games that I did, and I talked about the ones that I did. So, thank you everybody for watching. Again, we want to come back. We're going to have a couple end of the year videos like we did last year, basically wrapping up 2018 as a year, like we usually do. Hopefully you guys can give us stuff for that. Again, suggestions in the comment section below. What are you most excited about? Maybe a Smash Bros. Character that you think is going to be DLC? Use the comments. Otherwise, I am signing off. Hope you all have a lovely day. Goodbye.